What if the marriage you never wanted became the path to a life you never imagined? In the heart of the Old West, a girl's fate collides with a warrior's hidden truth, and nothing will ever be the same again. Thank you so much for watching. And for all your comments, let me know at the end if you like the story and where you're watching from and why you're following this. Montana Territory, 1867. Sarah Miller stood at the edge of her father's homestead, watching the golden sunset paint the vast prairie in amber hues. At 19, she had grown up learning to tend crops, mend clothes, and cook hearty meals for her father and two younger brothers. The death of her mother 5 years prior had thrust her into the role of caretaker, but Sarah found solace in the predictable rhythm of frontier life. "Sarah, come help with supper," her father called from their modest cabin. As she turned to head inside, she noticed a cloud of dust rising in the distance. Riders were approaching, at least a dozen. Her heart quickened. BlackFeet warriors. Relations with the neighboring tribe had been tense since white settlers began encroaching on tribal hunting grounds. Sarah's father, Thomas Miller, had tried to maintain peaceful terms, occasionally trading with the BlackFeet. But something about this approaching party felt different. "Pa," she called, her voice tight with worry. "Riders coming." Thomas emerged from the cabin, rifle in hand. "Get your brothers inside, now." Sarah ushered 12-year-old James and 10-year-old William into the cabin as her father stood his ground. The warriors approached, their leader a tall, imposing figure with stern features and eyes that revealed nothing of his thoughts. He wore a necklace of bear claws and had 2 eagle feathers in his hair. "Chief Running Wolf," Thomas acknowledged with a cautious nod. The chief dismounted. "Miller," he replied in accented English. "We come with purpose." Sarah watched through the window as the chief explained that white hunters had slaughtered a buffalo herd on BlackFeet hunting grounds, taking only the hides and tongues, leaving the meat to rot. Her father listened, his posture rigid. "We did not do this," Thomas insisted. "My family respects your ways." "This I know," the chief replied. "But your people push further into our land each season. We must protect what remains." Another warrior dismounted, younger than the chief, but with the same commanding presence. His face was painted for war, with 2 red streaks across his cheeks. His gaze met Sarah's through the window, and she quickly stepped back. "This is my son, Silent Fox," the chief said. "Our strongest warrior. He leads our young men who wish for war against all settlers." Thomas shifted uncomfortably. "What do you want from us?" "An alliance," Running Wolf stated, "to show my people. And yours that peace is possible." "What kind of alliance?" The chief gestured toward the cabin. "Your daughter will marry my son." Sarah gasped. Her father's face hardened. "That's not possible." "It is necessary," the chief countered. "This union will protect your family from those who seek vengeance. It will show both our peoples another path." "You can't expect—" "You have until morning to decide," Running Wolf interrupted. "Choose wisely, Miller. Many young warriors would burn your home with all inside rather than offer this path." As the BlackFeet rode away, Sarah emerged from the cabin, trembling. "Pa, you can't consider this." Her father's weathered face was drawn with worry. "Sarah, I don't know what choice we have. We could leave," she suggested desperately. "Head to Helena or Fort Benton." "We'd never make it," Thomas said, his voice hollow. "And what of our home, everything we've built?" That night, Sarah couldn't sleep. The warrior called Silent Fox had looked at her with such coldness, such detachment. The thought of being his wife made her stomach knot with dread. At dawn, Thomas called his children together. "I've made a decision," he said heavily. "Sarah, you will marry the chief's son." "Pa, no," she cried. "Listen to me," he continued, his voice breaking. "I believe this may be the only way to ensure peace. To protect our land and your brother's futures." He took her hands in his. "I would never ask this if I saw another way." William began to cry, and James put his arm around his younger brother, his own eyes wet with tears. "What if he's cruel to me?" Sarah whispered. Running Wolf is respected, Thomas said. His people value honor. I don't believe he would force this marriage if his son were a monster. When the BlackFeet returned, Sarah stood beside her father, wearing her mother's blue dress, the only fine garment she possessed. She fought to keep her composure as Running Wolf explained that she would live among his people, learning their ways. Silent Fox remained on his horse, his expression impassive as his father spoke. Not once did he look directly at his bride-to-be. You may bring few belongings, Running Wolf told her. You will be given what you need in our camp. Sarah nodded mutely, then went inside to gather her things, her mother's silver hairbrush, a small Bible, and a quilt her mother had made. Each item felt like an anchor to a life rapidly slipping away. As she mounted the horse they provided, Silent Fox finally spoke, his deep voice startling her. You will ride with me, he said, extending his hand. Sarah hesitated, then placed her trembling hand in his. With surprising gentleness, he pulled her onto his horse, positioning her in front of him. I will return in 1 moon to see how she fares, Thomas called as they prepared to depart. Sarah looked back at her family, her father standing tall despite the pain in his eyes, James trying to appear brave and little William openly weeping. As Silent Fox urged his horse forward, she wondered if she would ever see them again. The journey to the BlackFeet camp took the better part of a day. Sarah sat rigidly in front of Silent Fox, acutely aware of his presence behind her. Though his hold was secure, he maintained a respectful distance, speaking little save for occasional commands to his horse. The landscape changed as they traveled north, the open prairie giving way to rolling hills that served as the foothills of distant mountains. By late afternoon, they crested a rise, and Sarah saw the BlackFeet camp spread out below. Dozens of conical teepees arranged in a great circle, smoke rising from their peaks. As they rode into camp, curious faces emerged from dwellings. Children stopped their play to stare, and women paused in their work. Sarah felt exposed under their scrutiny, a stranger in a strange land. Running Wolf led them to a large teepee near the center of camp. This is my dwelling, he explained. You will stay here until the marriage ceremony. My daughter, Dawn Runner, will help you prepare. A young woman about Sarah's age emerged from the teepee. She wore a beautifully beaded dress and had her hair in 2 long braids. Her expression was neither welcoming nor hostile as she beckoned Sarah inside. Silent Fox dismounted and helped Sarah down, but didn't accompany her into the teepee. Instead, he turned and walked away without a word. He rarely speaks, Dawn Runner said in perfect English, noticing Sarah's gaze following her brother. It is why he is called Silent Fox. His thoughts are his own. The interior of the teepee was spacious, with buffalo robes covering the ground and painted designs decorating the hide walls. A small fire burned in the center, venting through the opening at the top. You will sleep here. Dawn Runner indicated a prepared bed of soft furs. Tomorrow we prepare you for the ceremony. Why did your brother agree to this marriage? Sarah asked, setting down her meager belongings. Dawn Runner arranged some items near the fire before answering. My brother does what is best for our people, as do I, as will you. That night, Sarah lay awake, listening to the unfamiliar sounds of the camp. Distant singing, the occasional bark of a dog, the wind rustling the teepee cover. Running Wolf had returned late, nodding respectfully to her before taking his place, opposite her sleeping area. Dawn Runner slept nearby. Of Silent Fox there was no sign. Morning arrived with a bustle of activity. Dawn Runner presented Sarah with a deerskin dress, elaborately beaded across the bodice. This was made for my brother's bride, she explained. Our mother began it before passing to the spirit world. I finished it. Sarah ran her fingers over the intricate beadwork. It's beautiful. Thank you. It is tradition, Dawn Runner replied matter-of-factly. Come, we must prepare you. The day passed in a blur of preparations. Sarah was bathed with sweet-smelling herbs, her hair washed and combed until it shone. Dawn Runner applied red ochre to Sarah's cheeks and lined her eyes with dark pigment. Throughout it all, Sarah saw nothing of Silent Fox. Does he avoid me because I am white? She finally asked. Dawnrunner paused in her preparations. My brother avoids everyone. Since returning from battle against the Crow 3 summers ago, he keeps his own counsel. Something softened in her expression, but he is a good man, strong, honorable. By sunset, Sarah stood outside the chief's teepee in her wedding finery, her heart pounding. The entire tribe had gathered for the ceremony, forming a circle around a large fire. Drums began to beat as Running Wolf led Sarah to the fire's edge. Silent Fox appeared from the opposite side, dressed in a fine buckskin shirt adorned with porcupine quills and eagle feathers. His face was painted differently now. Blue symbols. Across his forehead, a single red line from his lower lip to his chin. For the first time, he looked directly at Sarah, his dark eyes unreadable. The ceremony was conducted in the BlackFeet language, with Running Wolf speaking most of the words. An elderly woman Sarah hadn't met presented a blanket, which the chief draped over both their shoulders, binding them together. Silent Fox spoke only once during the ceremony, his voice deep and resonant as he repeated words after his father. Sarah, not understanding, remained silent until Dawnrunner whispered for her to do the same. She stumbled through the unfamiliar sounds, earning approving nods from the gathered tribe. The celebration afterward was unlike anything Sarah had experienced. The entire camp feasted on roasted buffalo meat and stewed berries. Men performed, dances that mimicked hunting and battle, while women sang in high, wavering voices that raised goosebumps on Sarah's arms. Through it all, Silent Fox remained by her side, but maintained his silence. When food was offered, he ensured she received choice portions. When an elderly man approached to speak with her, Silent Fox translated his well wishes with surprising patience. As night deepened, Dawnrunner led Sarah to a smaller teepee at the edge of camp. This is my brother's dwelling, she explained. Now it is yours as well. Sarah's anxiety returned tenfold as she entered the teepee. Animal hides covered the ground, and a small fire burned low in the center. Silent Fox's few possessions, weapons, a painted shield, bundles of herbs, were arranged neatly around the perimeter. When Silent Fox entered minutes later, Sarah stood frozen, uncertain what was expected of her. He moved to the fire, adding wood until it blazed higher, then sat cross-legged opposite her. You are afraid, he stated simply. Surprised by his direct address, Sarah could only nod. You need not be, he continued, his English careful but clear. No harm will come to you here. What happens now? She asked, her voice barely audible. Silent Fox regarded her thoughtfully. Now we sleep. You have had a long journey, a difficult day. He indicated a sleeping place prepared with soft furs. This is yours, I will sleep there. He pointed to the opposite side of the teepee. Relief flooded through Sarah. You don't expect... We are strangers, he interrupted, joined by words but not by hearts. Sleep without fear, Sarah Miller. It was the first time he had spoken her name, and something about the way he said it, with dignity, with respect, eased a fraction of her dread. As she lay beneath the warm buffalo robe, watching shadows dance across the teepee walls, Sarah realized that the cold warrior might be hiding depths she had yet to discover. Days turned into weeks as Sarah adjusted to life among the BlackFeet. Each morning she rose with the sun to help the other women prepare the day's meals. Dawnrunner proved to be a patient teacher, showing Sarah how to properly tan hides, gather edible plants, and perform the daily tasks expected of a BlackFeet woman. Silent Fox remained an enigma. He left the teepee before dawn each day, and often returned only after Sarah had gone to sleep. When they did share the same space, he was unfailingly polite but maintained his distance. He never touched her beyond what courtesy required. Never initiated conversation unless necessary. Yet Sarah began to notice small gestures. Fresh berries left by her sleeping place, a particularly beautiful feather placed near her belongings. Once, after she had mentioned missing the taste of honey, a small birch container of wild honey appeared beside the fire. One morning, A month. After her arrival, Dawn Runner found Sarah struggling with a hide scraper. Her hands blistered from unaccustomed work. "You learn quickly," Dawn Runner observed, "but your hands are not made for this yet." She took Sarah's hands in hers, examining the raw skin. "Come, I will show you how to make a salve." As they walked to gather plants, Sarah worked up the courage to ask about her brother. Silent Fox, was he always so reserved? Dawn Runner picked a purple coneflower before answering. No, as a boy he laughed often. He was kind to the younger children, patient with everyone. She straightened, her expression thoughtful. 3 summers ago he led a party of warriors against the Crow, who had stolen horses from our camp. They were ambushed, many died. "What happened to Silent Fox?" Sarah asked. "He was captured, tortured." Dawn Runner's voice grew tight. "They thought he would die, but he escaped. He returned to us, but his spirit was wounded. His voice became rare as winter sunlight." Sarah considered this as they continued gathering herbs. "Yet your father chose him for this alliance. My brother is still our strongest warrior, our wisest hunter. The young men follow him without question, even in his silence." Dawn Runner glanced at Sarah. "And my father believes that a good woman might help heal his spirit." That evening, when Silent Fox returned to their teepee, Sarah had the salve prepared. She hesitated, then said, "I made this, for your hands. I noticed they were cracked from the cold." He looked surprised, but held out his hands. Sarah gently applied the mixture of bearberry, beeswax, and tallow. His hands were calloused and strong, marked with small scars. For the first time they touched with purpose rather than necessity. "Thank you," he said quietly when she finished. "Dawn Runner showed me how to make it," Sarah admitted. "She has been kind to me." Silent Fox nodded. "My sister has a good heart." He paused, seeming to debate whether to continue. "The moon is full. Tonight, there will be a ceremony to honor the buffalo. Would you like to attend?" It was the first time he had invited her to join him for anything. "Yes," Sarah replied. "I would like that." The ceremony was unlike the frenzied celebration of their wedding. This was solemn, reverent. The tribe gathered around a large fire, as an elderly man Sarah now knew as Sleeping Bear, the medicine man, chanted prayers of thanksgiving. Drums beat in a slow, hypnotic rhythm. Silent Fox explained in hushed tones, "We thank the buffalo for giving their lives so we may live. Without them we would have no meat, no tippy covers, no clothing." He gestured to various tribal members. "The horns become spoons and ladles. The bones become tools. The sinew becomes thread. Nothing is wasted." As the ceremony continued, Sarah found herself moved by the deep respect the BlackFeet showed for the animals that sustained them. It was so different from the white hunters who took only what brought profit, leaving the rest to rot. The following day, Silent Fox did not leave at dawn. Instead, he asked, "Would you like to see more of our territory?" Surprised by the offer, Sarah agreed readily. They rode double on his horse, climbing into the foothills. Silent Fox pointed out landmarks, naming them in both BlackFeet and English. He showed her where certain plants grew, explaining their uses for medicine and food. At midday, they stopped by a clear stream. As they sat eating dried meat and berries, Silent Fox spoke more than he had in all their previous conversations combined. "My father says your father is a good man," he said, "that he has always treated our people with respect." "He tried," Sarah replied. "He taught us that this land belonged to the BlackFeet first, that we should be grateful for being allowed to stay." Silent Fox looked thoughtful. "Few white men think this way." "Is that why you agreed to marry me?" Sarah asked. "Because my father is different." He was quiet for so long that Sarah thought he wouldn't answer. Finally, he said, "I agreed because my father asked it of me, because our people need peace." He met her eyes. "But I have found that there is honor in this arrangement. You have faced this challenge with courage." Something shifted between them that day. Over the following weeks, Silent Fox began teaching Sarah to ride properly, to identify animal tracks, even to use a bow. In the evenings, He would sometimes tell her stories of BlackFeet heroes or explain the meaning behind the constellations visible through the typee opening. Sarah, in turn, shared stories from her own childhood, sang songs her mother had taught her, and read passages from her small Bible. Silent Fox listened attentively, asking thoughtful questions about her beliefs. When Thomas Miller arrived as promised, to check on his daughter, he found her changed. Sarah's skin was tanned from days spent outdoors, her movements more confident as she moved through the camp. "Are you well, Sarah?" Thomas asked privately when they had a moment alone. "I am, Pa," she replied honestly. "It has not been easy, but these people have shown me kindness. And Silent Fox," she hesitated, "he is a good man." Thomas studied her face. "He treats you properly." "With respect and dignity," she assured him. "We are learning to know one another." When Thomas prepared to leave, Silent Fox approached him. "Your daughter brings honor to both our peoples," he said formally. "She learns our ways with an open heart." Thomas nodded, visibly relieved. "Thank you for treating her well." As winter approached, the tribe moved to more sheltered grounds. Silent Fox worked tirelessly to ensure their teepee was properly secured against the coming cold, teaching Sarah how to arrange the interior for maximum warmth. One evening, as bitter winds howled outside, Sarah sat working on a pair of moccasins. She was making for him. Silent Fox watched her from across the fire, his expression softer than usual. "My mother would have liked you," he said unexpectedly. Sarah looked up, touched by the comment. "Tell me about her." And so he did, describing a strong woman who had taught him compassion alongside courage. As he spoke, Sarah realized that the cold warrior was finally showing her his heart. Winter settled over the BlackFeet territory, transforming the landscape into a pristine white expanse. Inside their teepee, Sarah and Silent Fox found a new rhythm to their days. The harsh weather meant more time spent together, and gradually, the silence between them became comfortable rather than strained. One night, as snow piled high around their dwelling, Silent Fox revealed more of himself than ever before. "I was different once," he said quietly, staring into the fire. "Before my capture." Sarah set aside her beadwork, giving him her full attention. They sat close together, the winter cold making proximity necessary rather than awkward. "The crow," he continued, his voice barely audible. "They held me for 7 days. They took pleasure in causing pain." He unconsciously touched a scar on his forearm. "But it was not the physical suffering that changed me. It was what I saw in their eyes." "What did you see?" Sarah asked gently. "The same thing I had felt toward them. Hatred. The certainty that the other was less than human." Silent Fox met her gaze. "When I escaped, I vowed never to speak of what happened, but also to question what I had been taught about enemies." "Is that why you agreed to the alliance? To this marriage?" He nodded slowly. "I saw another way. Not easy, but necessary." His hand moved slightly closer to hers on the buffalo robe between them. "I did not expect to find understanding in a white woman's eyes." Sarah's heart quickened as their fingers touched. "Nor I in a BlackFeet warrior's." As winter deepened, their relationship continued to evolve. They began to share the same sleeping place, finding comfort in each other's warmth during the coldest nights. Silent Fox taught Sarah to speak some BlackFeet, and she helped improve his English. They learned each other's stories, fears, and hopes. Yet beyond their teepee, tensions were growing. Word reached the camp of white settlers moving closer to BlackFeet hunting grounds. Younger warriors, led by a man named Circling Hawk, argued for aggressive action. "They respect only strength," Circling Hawk insisted during a council meeting that Silent Fox translated for Sarah afterward. "We must drive them back or lose everything." Running Wolf had maintained that the alliance with the Miller family showed another path was possible, but his influence was being tested. Silent Fox, once the voice for conflict, now found himself advocating for his father's position of cautious diplomacy. "Some think I have grown weak," he admitted to Sarah one night, "that your presence has dulled my warrior spirit." Has it? She asked. He considered this. It has shown me that courage takes many forms, that true strength can mean choosing not to fight when another path exists. In early spring, as the snow began to melt, a messenger arrived with alarming news. A group of BlackFeet hunters had been fired upon by white settlers while tracking buffalo on traditional hunting grounds. 2 young men had been killed. The camp erupted in grief and anger. Circling Hawk and his followers demanded immediate retaliation. Running Wolf called for a council, but tensions ran too high for measured discussion. The Miller homestead lies closest to our territory, Circling Hawk argued. We should strike there first, show the whites we will not be pushed aside. Sarah felt ice in her veins at these words. They would attack my family? Silent Fox's expression was grim. Circling Hawk sees your people as one enemy. He does not distinguish between those who harm us and those who do not. We must warn them, Sarah insisted. That night, while the tribe debated, Silent Fox made a decision. We will ride to your father's homestead. Now, while others argue. They slipped away under cover of darkness, riding hard through the night. By dawn, they approached the Miller homestead. Sarah's heart soared at the sight of the familiar cabin, smoke rising from its chimney. Thomas Miller emerged, rifle ready, then lowered it in shock. Sarah! She dismounted and embraced her father, quickly explaining the danger. James and William rushed out, grown taller in the months she'd been gone. Silent Fox remained on his horse, alert for pursuit. We must move. Quickly! Circling Hawk and his warriors may already be following our trail. Come inside, Thomas urged. We need to plan. Inside the cabin, Sarah was struck by how small it seemed after the spaciousness of the teepee. Her father had clearly tried to keep things tidy in her absence, but the dwelling lacked a woman's touch. We could flee to Fort Benton, James suggested. No, Silent Fox countered. Too far, they would catch us on open ground. Thomas studied his BlackFeet son-in-law with new respect. What do you suggest? If we can reason with them, Silent Fox began, but was interrupted by William's shout, Riders coming. Through the window, they saw a dozen BlackFeet warriors approaching, Circling Hawk at their lead. Behind them rode Running Wolf and several elders clearly trying to catch up. Stay inside, Silent Fox instructed. I will speak with them. Not alone, Sarah insisted, taking his hand. Together, they stepped outside to face the approaching war party. Thomas Miller took position beside them, his rifle lowered but ready. Circling Hawk reined his horse to a stop, his face painted for war. Step aside, Silent Fox. These settlers must learn our strength. These particular settlers have done no wrong, Silent Fox replied in BlackFeet, his voice carrying to all the warriors. They are family now. Family, Circling Hawk spat. Because you took a white woman to your bed, you disgrace your people. Running Wolf arrived, positioning his horse between the warriors and the homestead. My son speaks truth. We came seeking alliance, not more bloodshed. The whites who killed our brothers must answer for their crimes, Circling Hawk insisted. But these are not those men, Running Wolf countered. Thomas Miller has always respected our boundaries. Sarah stepped forward, surprising everyone by addressing the warriors in halting BlackFeet. I have lived among you, learned your ways, seen your wisdom. She took a deep breath. My father would stand with you against those who wrong your people. Thomas Miller, though not understanding the words, stepped forward to stand beside his daughter. Whatever she promised, I'll honor it. Silent Fox translated, then added, My father by marriage offers his help in identifying those truly responsible. For the attack on our hunters. A tense silence followed. The warriors on horseback shifted restlessly, some lowering their weapons while others maintained their aggressive posture. Finally, Sleeping Bear, who had accompanied Running Wolf, spoke. I have had a vision, the old medicine man announced. 2 peoples living side by side like the wolf and the buffalo. Different, but sharing the same land, the same sky. He pointed to Silent Fox and Sarah. They show us this is possible. Circling. Hawk was not easily swayed. Words and visions do not return our dead brothers. No, Silent Fox agreed. But more death will not bring them back either. There is another path. He gestured to the Miller homestead. My wife's family can help. Speak to the white authorities. Demand justice for our hunters in ways they will understand. Running Wolf nodded approvingly. This is why I arranged this union. Not just for peace today, but for understanding tomorrow. Gradually, the tension eased. While Circling Hawk remained skeptical, the majority of warriors were willing to follow their chief's lead. Plans were made for Thomas Miller to accompany Running Wolf to the territorial authorities, bearing witness to the unprovoked attack on the BlackFeet hunters. As the warriors prepared to return to their camp, Silent Fox turned to Sarah. You spoke well, he said quietly, with a brave heart. I learned from you, she replied, both strength and wisdom. That evening, as the extended families shared a meal in the Miller cabin, Sarah observed the tentative connections forming. Her brothers peppered the BlackFeet elders with questions about hunting techniques. Thomas and Running Wolf discussed boundaries that both settlers and tribe could respect. Silent Fox found Sarah standing outside later, gazing at the stars. What are you thinking? He asked, coming to stand beside her. About how strangely life turns, she replied. I was forced to marry you, terrified of what would happen. He took her hand, a gesture that now felt natural rather than foreign. And now, Sarah turned to face him. Now I understand that what looked like the end of my life was actually the beginning. You were never the cold warrior I feared. I was. He contradicted gently. But you helped me find my voice again, my heart. In the months that followed, Silent Fox and Sarah created something unprecedented, a life between two worlds. They split their time between the BlackFeet camp and a small cabin built near the Miller homestead. Sarah taught in a small school that served both settler and BlackFeet children. Silent Fox worked with territorial officials as an interpreter and guide, helping forge understanding between the cultures. It wasn't always easy. Prejudice and suspicion existed on both sides, but their union stood as living proof that differences could be bridged, that forced beginnings could transform into chosen paths. One summer evening, as they sat outside their cabin watching the sunset paint the prairie gold, Silent Fox spoke the words that had been growing in his heart. I did not choose you at first, he said, taking her hands in his. But I choose you now every day. Sarah smiled, leaning her head against his shoulder. And I choose you, my no longer Silent Fox. Together, they had transformed an arrangement made for peace into a genuine love that would help guide two peoples toward a future neither could have imagined alone.